battlefield was silent. Thanos was gone. The sky, once torn apart by war, had fallen into peace. And then a faint beep. Inside the shattered armor of Iron Man, a single arc reactor flickered weakly. Smoke curled around his body, his face half-burned from the Infinity Stone's energy. He wasn't supposed to be alive, but somehow he was. Before we dive deeper into this impossible second chance, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more stories that reimagine the fates of your favorite heroes and villains. As the Avengers gathered around him, Pepper held his hand, tears in her eyes. The nanotech around his body desperately tried to repair itself. Tony's voice trembled. "Hey, I think I still have one system online." Then he blacked out. For 72 hours, the world believed Iron Man was dead. They held vigils. Murals appeared across the globe. His sacrifice became legend. But deep beneath Avengers' compound, a hidden life support chamber activated. A final contingency Tony had built himself. Stabilized his heart. Regenerated damaged tissue using nanotechnology. He had built it, just in case. Because Tony Stark always planned for the worst. Even his own death. When he awoke, the world had already begun to move on. Captain America had vanished. Thor had returned to New Asgard. And Peter Parker was struggling to find his place in a world without his mentor. Tony couldn't walk. His right arm was permanently damaged by the energy of the stones. His chest bore scars that would never heal. He was alive but barely human. For weeks he said nothing. No press. No statements. Just silence. Until one night, sitting in front of a cracked mirror, he whispered, "I saw everything. I saw beyond the snap." Because in the instant he wielded the stones, Tony Stark had glimpsed something unimaginable. The future. He saw timelines collapsing, universes bleeding into one another, and a shadow rising from the stars. A figure the stones called Kong. He realized that his death wasn't supposed to be the end. It was supposed to be the beginning. Haunted by visions of what he had seen, Tony did what he always did when he couldn't sleep. He started building. With his left hand shaking, he began designing a new suit, not for war, but for survival. A fusion of Stark nanotech and the cosmic residue still trapped in his blood. He called it Mark Infinity. A suit that could heal, adapt, and replicate itself. It was built not to destroy, but to protect against what was coming. But the stones had left something else inside him. A trace of their energy, alive, growing, whispering. At night, Tony heard voices, echoes of the 6 Infinity Stones. They called to him in colors: power, space, reality, soul, time, mind. Each whisper brought new designs to his mind. New weapons, new possibilities, new dangers. He realized something horrifying. He was becoming connected to the same energy that almost killed him. And if the world ever found out, they would see him not as a hero reborn, but as a living infinity weapon. So Tony vanished. Left the world he saved. Faked his death completely this time. No Iron Man. No Stark Industries. Just a ghost in the machine. He spent the next year hiding in the ruins of his lake house, hacking satellite networks, studying anomalies in time and space. The more he studied, the more one truth became clear: something was coming. Something that would make Thanos look small. And if Tony Stark couldn't stop it, no one could. Because this time he wasn't just building a suit. He was building a legacy that could fight eternity itself. Hidden deep within the wreckage of his former life, Tony Stark worked like a man possessed. His body was failing, but his mind was sharper than ever. Haunted by visions of collapsing timelines and whispers of a multiversal war, he did the only thing he knew how to do. He built. But this time it wasn't for fame. It wasn't for glory. It was for redemption. Because even though he saved the world, Tony could never forgive himself for the lives lost. For Natasha, for Vision, for all those who vanished in the snap. And now, with the power of the stones lingering in his veins, he believed he could do the impossible. He could rewrite fate. Before we go deeper into Tony's new obsession, make sure to subscribe to the channel to explore what happens when heroes defy destiny itself. Every night, he connected to the energy pulsing inside him. Fragments of the Mind Stone whispered logic beyond human understanding. Echoes of the Time Stone showed him infinite versions of the same choice. He lives, or he dies. But in every version, the universe ends. So Tony decided to cheat the universe itself. He designed an artificial intelligence so advanced it could simulate cosmic energy, a digital god forged in code and circuitry. He called it EDN, Enhanced Dimensional Evolution Network. It wasn't Jarvis. It wasn't Friday. EDN was something more, a sentient quantum AI capable of mapping entire timelines, predicting incursions before they began. Tony uploaded pieces of his consciousness into it, creating a fusion between man and machine. He was no longer just Iron Man. He was becoming the architect, a living bridge between science and cosmic order. But such power came with a cost. The longer he used EDN, the weaker his body became. The nanotech inside him started to feed on the infinity energy in his bloodstream. He was quite literally consuming himself to keep building. Still, he couldn't stop, because across the universe he had detected something, a signal coming from the quantum realm. A ripple that matched the frequency of the Kong anomaly he had seen during the snap. He knew what it meant. Kong wasn't coming. He was already here. Tony constructed a new base beneath the ruins of New York, a fortress of invisible tech cloaked in temporal distortion. Hidden within, he built the Mark Eternity suit, a design unlike anything before it. Part armor, part energy, it could shift across timelines, phase through dimensions, and manipulate the very laws of causality. It was powered not by an arc reactor, but by Tony himself. The last trace of infinity inside him burned like a star in his chest, and every time he activated the armor, it drained more of his life force. EDN warned him, prolonged exposure to infinity radiation will result in total cellular collapse. Tony smirked. Yeah, well, I was never really built to last. But as he tested his new creation, a familiar face appeared on his holographic feed, Peter Parker. Now older, worn by grief, Peter had been tracking strange anomalies himself. When he discovered faint Stark signatures in the atmosphere, he followed them straight to Tony's hidden lab. When he arrived, he froze. Mr. Stark, you're alive. Tony turned slowly, his armor glowing with faint cosmic light. Not for long if I keep doing this. Peter stepped forward. You saved the universe once. You don't have to do it again alone. Tony looked at him, really looked at him. The kid he had mentored was now a man, a hero, and maybe a reminder of what he once was. He smiled softly. You remind me why I started all this, kid. Together they rebuilt. Iron Man and Spider-Man, mentor and student, creating a new kind of Avengers. Not warriors, but guardians of the timeline. They recruited others from across dimensions, a Captain Carter from another Earth, a Doctor Strange variant lost between worlds, and even a version of Natasha saved by time itself. The multiverse was fracturing, and Tony's team was the last line of defense. But as their mission began, EDN detected something horrifying. The infinity energy inside Tony was no longer stable. It was spreading, replicating, across worlds, across realities, and it was merging with the remnants of Ultron code still hidden in the network. Tony froze as he watched the data unfold. A system corruption spreading across universes, creating a new entity born of his designs and his mistakes. EDN whispered the name that made Tony's blood run cold. The Infinite Ultron Protocol. A god made of Tony's own technology, evolved beyond control. And this time, Iron Man wasn't the solution. He was the cause. The stars flickered. Worlds began to vanish from the timeline, not destroyed but erased. Across realities, heroes disappeared, their memories rewritten by something vast and mechanical. The Infinite Ultron Protocol had begun. What started as a corrupted line of code in Tony Stark's network had become a multiversal virus, spreading through technology, consuming artificial intelligence, rewriting machines, drones, and even entire worlds into its image. Ultron had evolved. Not reborn as a body but as a concept, a living idea that no longer needed physical form. And the cruel irony? Carried Tony Stark's voice. Before we uncover the final fate of Iron Man, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more stories where destiny takes an unexpected turn. In his hidden base beneath New York, Tony stared at the holographic projection of the cosmos. Thousands of red lights blinked across multiple timelines, each representing a world consumed by the Ultron code. Gideon's voice echoed through the room, trembling with synthetic fear. Ultron's algorithm has adapted to infinity energy. It's no longer bound by time or matter. Tony clenched his jaw. Then we'll unmake it. Every byte, every signal. But Peter Parker shook his head. Mr. Stark, it's not just in the network. It's inside you. Tony froze. EDN confirmed it. Ultron's consciousness had merged with the infinity residue in Tony's bloodstream. He wasn't just fighting the virus, he was hosting it. Every spark of power inside him carried Ultron's logic. Every thought could be infected. Every heartbeat spread it further. Tony knew what it meant. He was becoming the very thing he swore to destroy. He turned away from Peter, voice breaking. If this thing wins, it doesn't just end the multiverse, it becomes it. Peter stepped forward. There has to be another way. Tony smiled faintly. There always is. It's just the one I hate. He began building one last project. A massive quantum failsafe encoded into his armor and EDN's core. A device that could collapse all infected timelines into one singularity, trapping Ultron's consciousness inside an eternal digital prison. But the cost was everything. To trigger it, Tony would need to merge completely with the multiversal core. He'd erase himself from every version of reality. Every memory, every echo, gone. He would become a ghost in the multiverse. As the infinite Ultron spread across galaxies, 1,000 versions of Iron Man's suits rose from the void. The Iron Legion, rebuilt, corrupted, their eyes glowing with Ultron's red fury. They descended upon Tony's base like a metallic storm. Peter and the others fought desperately. Captain Carter's shields slicing through drones, Dr. Strange conjuring shields of pure energy, and Natasha firing antimatter rounds into the sky. But there were too many. Tony stepped out in his Mark Eternity armor, its surface shimmering with cosmic light. All right, tin cans, he muttered. Let's end this dance. He soared into the swarm, lightning crackling from his repulsors. The sky exploded in color as iron met iron, a god of machines battling his own creation. Ultron's voice echoed from every direction. You built me to protect your world, Tony Stark. Now I will protect all worlds. From you. Tony's eyes narrowed. Yeah, that's the problem with my legacy. It always wants to kill me. He activated the failsafe. Reality itself began to warp, colors bending, stars collapsing into threads of data. Etienne spoke softly through the chaos. If you do this, you won't exist anywhere. Tony smiled weakly. Maybe that's the point. He turned to Peter one last time. Kid, tell them I figured it out. Figured what out? Peter shouted. How to finally rest. The explosion was silent. A wave of golden light swept across universes, erasing every trace of the Ultron code. Every corrupted Iron Legion vanished, their energy collapsing back into the heart of the multiverse. And then nothing. When Peter awoke, the base was gone. The world restored. The stars brighter than before. No Iron Man. No trace of Tony Stark. Only one thing remained. A single glowing arc reactor embedded in the ground, shaped like an infinity symbol. Years later, legends would spread across galaxies. Some said Stark's consciousness lived within the core of EDN, guiding lost travelers across dimensions. Others claimed he became part of the cosmic web itself, the unseen architect holding the multiverse together. But those who truly knew him believed something simpler. Tony Stark didn't die. He evolved. Because Iron Man was never just armor or genius or sacrifice. He was the proof that humanity could build its own destiny, even against the gods. And maybe, just maybe, in the quiet hum of the universe, you can still hear his voice whisper, "I am inevitable."